Wait, what about weird? Hey everyone, we're going to be recording a Road Trip Horror Stories episode coming up on September 6th is the recording date for that. So if you have any weird and wacky road trip stories that you want to share, for example, you saw a ghost hitchhiker or you ran out of gas in the middle of nowhere, just anything strange that might have happened to you while you've been out on the road, we would like to hear about it. Even if you think, my story's not that cool, not that important, please share it with us, because even having one story is better than having none to share. And we would really like to just get some fun stories out there, especially since Elena and I are going to go on a road trip soon and we just really want to freak ourselves out. Nothing like watching a horror movie by yourself or listening to a horror story about the thing that you're just about to do. So if you have a story that you would like to send in, please go ahead and email us at whataboutweirdpod@gmail.com, or you can DM us on Instagram or Blue Sky, preferably Instagram though, because I don't know how much we check Blue Sky. All right, thank you so much.
Hello, I'm Elena.
And I'm Echo.
And this is our podcast, What About Weird, a podcast discussing all things weird from cryptids and aliens to strange science and unhinged history. Do you want to tell the folks what we're talking about today, or shall I?
I guess it was your idea, wasn't it? So why don't you go ahead and talk about it?
Okay, yeah. So this week we're doing something a little bit different. It's halfway between our researched episodes and a weird talk. We're sort of interchanging what we're talking about, and we're talking about weird government projects. These aren't conspiracies, these are actual things that happened. Actual, verifiable, weird, unhinged, bizarre government projects.
Yeah, I have documents from the CIA. Now, don't get me wrong,
Me
are there
too.
6 pages that have been redacted? Yes, but they're there.
I have stuff from the National Park Service, from the Army website. It was incredibly infuriating to try and research some of this because the government has changed their websites, and it is hilarious and
Oh my god.
terrifying because
Yeah.
I researched these things. I looked into these things when I first heard about them like a year or two ago. And then when I researched them again, I swear, I know my memory's not good, but I swear they've changed. Because originally, some of these projects were like, it was a terrible failure. And then recently I looked it up and it's like, it was a glaring success. I'm like, then why did you stop doing the project?
Oh my god. They are legitimately changing so many of the government websites, though. And it's gotten so bad because it's like we don't want to admit that America ever did anything bad, even though, like, so much of what America did has been so fucking bad. So
Oh, yeah. I
yay.
tried, because everything America does is so bad, I tried to not get super bad stuff. I tried to go for, like, funny ones. I'm like, the government sucks. Let's make fun of it for being stupid. And even these are, like, terrible and awful. They're still hilarious, but they're terrible and awful. But, so my first one that I have, the National Park website thing about this, like the historical stuff, it used to be 3 pages. It is now like 3 paragraphs, and it's like, this happened and it was a success. I'm not even joking. And it used to be government websites when I was in school doing like research projects. They're like, use government like, don't trust a .com if you have a .org.
Yes,
and now it's like, you can't trust a .gov. It's so concerning.
Yeah.
But I looked at multiple sources, and I compared and contrasted, and I tried to find the things that were the same. This was concerningly
It's okay. You know what?
Information
isn't real anymore, and opinion trumps fact, and the whole world is falling apart. It is.
I never thought I'd hear the phrase Trump and fact in the same sentence. But here we are.
Same word, clearly different meaning.
very different. So, shall I dive into my first little story here once I
Yeah,
get rid of
get into
all
it.
these puppets? So, have you ever heard of Project X-Ray?
I don't think so.
Have you maybe heard of the bat bombs?
Oh, the napalm bats. Yeah.
Yes, the possibly the best goth band name ever. Yes.
I didn't know that that's what the actual project was called. Like I knew about the napalm bats and what they did and everything, but I
Well,
had
probably
no
because I've
idea
told
what
you
the
so
project was
much.
called.
It's called Project X-Ray. Why? I don't know. Half these things have just weird names. They're like, let's put a totally unrelated thing on. I have one where it makes the project name make sense, but most of them it's just like random words. It's Project Insert Random Word Here.
Yeah, pretty much.
So in 1943, a project began called Project X-Ray. The goal of the project was to drop a bunch of bats, each carrying a lightweight incendiary on and drop them over suitable Japanese targets, where they would then roost in the rafters and basically set these Japanese towns ablaze.
Okay, hold up. So they strapped basically a bomb to
A
the
timed bomb
bats?
to the bats.
Okay.
Yes.
And
They
then the
put
bats would go nest in the Japanese houses? Where are they going? Where are the bats nesting?
into Japanese houses, basically
Okay.
firebombing but with extra
So
steps.
so we're not like targeting the Japanese government. We're just bombing civilians? That's the
War of
plan
attrition,
here?
yes. War of attrition
Oh,
and morale, yes.
great. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it sucks because innocent people would die and because bats would die. So,
Yeah, we're just gonna blow up some bats and some civilians. That sounds like a great idea, America.
yeah, no, there's basically the idea was to put the bats in a suspended temporary hibernation on a plane over the seas and then wake them up just before they got to Japan, drop this bomb that would then open and all these bats would fly out and hopefully nest in these rafters. So, you may be wondering, where the fuck did this come from? There was
Yeah, who
a
decided this?
there was a dental surgeon from Irwin, Pennsylvania. I wrote Pennsylvania. Irwin,
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. It's like Italian, Italian Transylvania, which makes sense with bats actually. But so this dental surgeon from Pennsylvania named Lytle Adams was an acquaintance of First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt, and he was inspired when to create this idea when he went to Carlsbad National Caverns or Carlsbad Caverns National Park.
Okay.
And that's Carlsbad, not Carlsbat. I thought it was Carlsbat for the longest time until I was doing this research. It's
No
bad
way,
with a
that's
D.
so funny.
Um, so you may know Carlsbad as the place where all the bats come out. I'm sure you've seen
Mhm.
the videos online of just like hordes of bats coming out of these caves. And these hordes of bats are called cauldrons or clouds. So we went to Carlsbad and was watching these cauldrons of bats leave. And he had this idea, and he wrote a letter directly to the White House just a little bit after the attack on Pearl Harbor. And he wrote that bats were, and I quote, the lowest form of life with no reason for creation up until this point.
So
Uh,
he just really fucking hated bats, and so he was like, we should strap bombs to them.
Basically, yeah, he's like I didn't fully read that quote right, but he did say they were the lowest form of animal life. He hated bats, was like they have no purpose. Let's fucking blow them up. Also,
What a dick.
Why are you going to the place known for bats if you hate bats? And you're like they're stinky, they're gross, they have no purpose. Let's blow them. Like why are you going there anyway?
And so, how did the government get onto this from this random fucking dentist? Like, the dentist called the government and
Because
was like, "Hey, you should strap bombs to bats."
he knew Eleanor Roosevelt, First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt, and like wrote her a letter and was like, "Hey, what if we blew up bats, but like
I
against the
just,
Japanese?"
I just wasn't that aware
And
that like Eleanor Roosevelt had so much sway to like, I don't know, give
well, I
government agencies like a war tactic.
he
But I guess that's
he
fair.
wrote so he knew he had sway because he knew the First Lady, but he didn't write her. He just wrote a letter to the White House. And I guess because he was
Okay.
her acquaintance, it got through security and all that stuff. But her husband's reaction, the president, his reaction was, and I quote, "This man is not a nut. It sounds like a perfectly wild idea, but it's worth looking into." Which, if that doesn't remind you of the Hippo Bill, I don't know what does.
Oh my God, so true.
Hippo Bill Part 2. Honestly, a lot of my stuff is very Hippo Bill Part 2 in this episode.
Now, obviously, the napalm bats didn't work, right? Because I think it was they put them to sleep or they put them in like an induced hibernation, but they weren't coming out of the hibernation on
I'm
time,
so
right? And just getting blown up.
Yeah, so I'm getting there. First off, you know me, I can't avoid digging into a little bit of biology. I love me some good biology. So they decided to use the type of bat they decided to use were called Mexican freetail bats. These are very common in the Carlsbad area. They're medium-sized bats, probably about like fist size or like the size of a songbird, and they're unusual because they have long tails, unlike most other bats, but they are one of the fastest bats and they can fly up to 60 miles an hour, and they can fly at heights of 10,000 feet, which is higher and faster than any other bat. They also have a lifespan of 8 to 10 years when not strapped to bombs. So just thought you would find that interesting. Just some of the biology. You know me, I love it.
Yeah,
So
because I didn't know what kind of bats they used.
yeah, and I think the height and the speed was probably why they chose these bats. They're not the most common type of bat, but they are very common in the area where they were doing these tests, and they were the type of bat that was in Carlsbad.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk a little bit about these tests. So before they even got to the testing stage, they accidentally released the bats with the bombs on them, and then they set an oil tanker on fire. And then when they got to the tests, they set up a mock-up Japanese village in the desert. And so the first test, like you had said, the bats weren't woken up on time. They just plummeted to their deaths and just went boom. The
Oh,
second test, they were released. Everything seemed to go fine, except instead of flying to the Japanese village, they flew straight back to the barracks in the base and set that on
shit.
fire. So the
You know, it
third test,
serves them right.
yeah, no, honestly, they deserve it. Not the bats, the people. So the last test, they pushed everything further back into the desert, so it was further away from the barracks and all that stuff, and released them. And it actually worked really well. It was pretty successful, but the project was scrapped after the A bomb was created and was considered a lot more successful and effective for the government's purposes. And the U.S. government spent about $2 million at the time, like in 1940s money, on
Holy
this project.
shit.
But yeah,
That's so much.
it is so much. That's like 20 million today or something. I didn't look up the conversion.
Not a real
Math.
calculation done just then, but
No,
you can imagine it.
yeah, just roughly. I vaguely know the calculations, but not really. But so that's Project X-Ray. And it's crazy to me to think that this almost was a possibility, and then we just developed a more heinous weapon. Also, this
Yeah.
project reminds me of, have you ever heard that story of, shoot, I don't remember what her name was. I think it was like Queen Olga or someone in like the 13th century that got pissed off at a village and then was like, as penance, you guys all have to bring me a homing pigeon. And then she strapped bombs to him and had him set the village on fire.
My God, no, I've never heard of that.
You've never heard of that?
No, that's fucking crazy, but I feel like you need to do an episode on that now because that's fascinating.
Yeah, her
Yeah.
name was Queen Olga. Anyway, you do your project, your next thing.
Okay. For my first one, I'm going to talk about one that if you have taken any sort of bioethics, medical ethics, psychology class, been in a lab, you've probably heard of this one. When I think of crazy ass government projects, this is one that always comes to mind. Like anytime somebody brings up medical ethics, this is like the first thing that comes to mind. So just, for those few people that haven't heard it, I think it's really good to just put it out into the universe even more. And even if you have heard it, you know what? It's good to have a reminder that this kind of crazy shit happened not very long
Do
ago.
tell.
So, I am going to be talking about the US Public Health Service untreated syphilis study at Tuskegee, which started
Heard
in
of this? I don't know the details and stuff, but I've like heard
yeah,
of it.
so
Also,
it
there's so many
started
unethical medical practice, like medical projects that they all blend
insane.
together.
This one was so bad, though, that the government legitimately had to pass so many fucking laws after it. This specific study is the reason why we have so many different laws relating to medical ethics, because it was just that fucking bad. So, in 1932, the US Public Health Service, working at the Tuskegee Institute, started a study to record the natural development of syphilis and the natural history of syphilis. And so they involved initially 600 Black men, 399 of them had syphilis, and 201 were part of a control group that did not have the disease. They did not get any sort of informed consent from participants. And researchers told the men that they were being treated for bad blood. They did not tell them that they were treating them for syphilis. They did not tell them they had syphilis.
Bad blood? What did they assume bad blood meant? Just like
I don't know.
like
Bad
sickle
blood.
cell or
Bad
just
blood
like
was just a term
you got
meant
some
to
bad blood in you,
describe.
buddy.
Bad blood was a term used to describe several different ailments, which included syphilis, anemia, fatigue, etc. So
Every
it's just a catch-all term.
bloodborne illness.
It's like telling
Hysteria.
a woman, yeah, that she has hysteria. That's exactly what it's like. It's fucking stupid because it's just a catch-all term, essentially. Oh, you're feeling bad, it's in your blood. You're gonna call it bad blood. And
Okay.
essentially
Out of
they were like,
curiosity, was this, do you know offhand, was this before or after the Tuskegee Airmen? Because I don't know when that started. That was like World War II, right? I don't know. I just think it's interesting that these two things that were very, I mean, the Tuskegee Airmen were sort of like a fucked up history thing that turned into like a crazy good, cool history thing. But it's kind of interesting that they came out of the same like
roughly
town.
the same era. Like, they trained in World War II, I think it was in the 1940s, 1941 to 1946. So this syphilis study in Tuskegee started in 1932, so just a little bit before the airmen, but so it was like a hot spot for government projects at the time.
Okay, so they're like, I don't know much of anything about Tuskegee, but I feel like it's probably a predominantly like African American area, given that there's two fucked up government projects.
Yep.
Started there. Like the whole Tuskegee Airmen thing was like they were trying not to let them become airmen, and then because they were doing that, they became really good.
It's in Alabama, and I want to venture to say it's in a less wealthy part of Alabama.
Okay,
and
gotcha.
So they were like, hey, we want to see what happens when people have syphilis for a really long time. Like, we just want to see what happens to them over time. Who are we going to test it
I
on?
have
A
I
bunch
have
of
a
black
wild
men.
guess. I have a wild guess. If you give someone syphilis for a really long time, it fucks up their life and their body.
They didn't give anybody syphilis. They already had syphilis, but the study was just so incredibly unethical for so many different reasons. Because number one, they didn't, gain any informed consent. Number two, they didn't tell them that they had syphilis and that's why they were observing them. And then another part is so they basically were like, hey, in exchange for taking part in our study, you will receive free medical exams, free meals, and when you die, we'll give you burial insurance. That was like,
We
okay,
need
cool.
Wait, I did not know that we needed insurance to be buried. What the fuck? Why did nobody tell me this?
It's basically just saying like we're gonna pay for your burial service when you die.
The funeral industry is a scam and I will stick to that. That is
Oh, it's
why
so bad.
this this is why my grandmother's ashes are in a mason jar and not in an urn because the funeral industry is a scam.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, we love that. Okay, I can understand why people would be interested in this, especially in the 30s. You
Yeah.
know, in the depression during the Great Depression, they're like, "Yeah, no, give me like free meals, free medical checkups, sign me up."
And so at this time, there really wasn't a treatment for syphilis. Like there wasn't much that we could do for people. And so when they started the study, it was like, yeah, well, let's see what happens when people have syphilis for like the rest of their lives. But what fucking happened is that penicillin was developed and was decidedly the treatment for syphilis by 1943. That is only 11 years after the study took place. The study went on until 1972, and they intentionally did not give any of these 399 black men the fucking treatment for syphilis.
So, if they why did they not as like
Because they wanted to see how it played out. Like, the whole point of the study
I
was to see how it went untreated, and so they purposefully did not treat all of these men's syphilis.
it's I could well, I don't condone it. I could understand if they didn't have a treatment being like, "Well, we'll observe this and try and figure out, what are the long-term effects." But I feel like as soon as a cure is developed, they're like, "No, we'll help people and
Yes.
fuck this project." But
Yeah, but they didn't because they were like,
I
"This is
hate the
this is
government.
like hundreds of poor black men. We're just gonna let them die and not give them the treatment that we've developed."
Yeah,
And
they're
not
not
only
famous
that,
or rich, it doesn't matter.
yeah, and not only that, but because they didn't let them know that they had the sexually transmitted diseases, there were a bunch of
They spread
women
it.
that ended up contracting syphilis. Yes.
And
So
then
it's
you
just
end
like
up with
great.
children with
So
congenital syphilis.
yeah, really bad. Really, really bad. And the fact that it went on for 40 entire years and they did not give anyone treatments for it. And so eventually, like, news stories kind of started coming out about it and being like, hey, what the fuck is this? Like, this seems a little bad. And so then there was this advisory committee that formed that decided, hey, we should probably stop this study, after we've done it for 40 years and 30 out of the 40 years, we decided to intentionally not treat these men for syphilis. Yeah, maybe you should stop the fucking studies.
They ended because everybody fucking died.
They ended it because all these news stories started coming out. Or,
Oh,
hold
it was
on.
the bad press, not the fact that they were killing
Yeah, so these
people.
news stories started coming out, and so in 1972, they decided to end the study. But then, since the news had already got a hold of it, and their participants and their families were like, "Hold up, you're telling us that everybody has syphilis and other people have contracted it, and hundreds of people are dead at this point, and this has been going on for 40 years." Because they're getting more and more patients throughout this time. Like, at this
Because
point,
people are
so many people
transmitting
have
syphilis
died.
to other people.
Yeah. So in 1974, they got taken to court for the study.
As they
And
should. Let me guess.
yeah,
They won.
there was a $10
They
million settlement that was divided into 4 categories. Anyone who happened to live with syphilis, like any of the living syphilitic group participants, received $37,500, which is not enough in my opinion. Like, I understand that's quite a bit
No,
of
by
money for
no means.
1974, but that is not enough.
That's
Heirs of
yeah, to
deceased.
expose yourself and everybody you like expose people you care about to syphilis? Like, no, that's
Yeah.
not enough.
Heirs of deceased syphilitic group participants received $15,000. So that's less than half of what the living people got. So, like,
But
if
they
your
also
dad
probably
died
have
of
syphilis.
syphilis, yes. So, like, if they're like the wife of the man who just died in the syphilis study, not only do you get like less than half of the fucking amount, but you probably have it too. And then the living control group participants received 16,000. So that's still more than the families of the deceased people.
Ah,
And
jeez.
then heirs of deceased control group participants received $5,000.
I hate everything about this. Thank you for
So
sharing this, but
bad.
also fuck you.
Yeah,
Well, no,
it's
not fuck you. Fuck the
really
government.
bad. Yeah, fuck the
Yeah.
government. Like, it is so bad. And so, like the CDC does, they recently did like a 50th anniversary event, and it is widely talked about and widely taught today because there are so many laws about informed consent. And now when people do research studies, when you are comparing treatment plans, you are not allowed to have one group that is just untreated. Like, you can't do that in a study anymore with humans.
Oh my god. Oh my god. That
So, yeah, so if you're testing
I
a treatment, now you can test a new treatment against a current treatment to see if it works better, but you're not allowed to test like a treatment against no treatment and just deny people treatment. At least in the
you've
US. I don't know how it is in other, but at
you
least we have that
you've
going
seen
for
that
us now.
thing. You've seen the thing of a certain person who's in control of healthcare suggesting that we should test vaccine alternatives against placebos, not against current vaccines, right?
Yes. That that made me like want to rip my hair out. I'm like, are you kidding me? Because that's exactly what this is. Like, this is somebody that clearly doesn't understand medical ethics and the history of the medical research industry in general. Like, there
Well, it's
is a
clearly someone who doesn't
reason that
understand
we don't,
anything.
like, it's one thing if there are plenty of things that we like offer placebos for, but not when you're treating an illness that could fucking kill you. We just don't do
Especially
that.
especially if we already have
A treatment
a
for it.
a treatment developed or a preventative
Yes.
developed.
Yeah.
Ah, my goodness. Also,
Ugh.
I am so sorry if I'm cutting you out because I feel like I'm not. I start talking and then you keep talking through it. This whole online thing is a little
Yeah, yeah, welcome
messy
to
with my
recording over
brain.
Discord.
Yeah. Sorry for anybody listening. We're new to the recording online thing. We're trying it out.
Hopefully it sounds okay though.
It, you
Alright.
listen back and it sounds like shit.
Well, it is what it is. We've recorded most of it now, so go ahead on with your next one, and hopefully
On
it's less angering
Okay.
than the one I just did.
Well, you like cats?
I do like cats. Is
I
that a
am
bad
so
thing?
sorry.
Oh no. No.
So, during the Cold War in the 1960s, the CIA were trying to get around all of the problems they were having with spy technology, where they couldn't focus the sound as well. They were picking up a lot of background noise and all this. And they're like, we need to figure out how to build an ear that we can use to spy. And they're like, well, what if instead of that, we just implanted a microphone in an animal's ear? They decided to do that with a cat. They were like, well, cats, there's stray cats everywhere. It won't be too noticed. We can just train a cat and get it to spy for us with recording technology, like send the stuff back to us. So they started out on this project and they got a vet to implant a microphone in the cat's ear with a battery. The first few tests, they ran into some issues because the cat would get hungry, like animals do, and would wander off and try and find food. So they had the vet, who was, might I add, there to keep them performing this ethically, remove the parts of the brain and disable that parts of the brain that makes the cat feel hunger.
Oh. What? Why?
Because somehow that's still ethical? I don't understand. So they decided to test this out. Once they got it, they did a few tests in controlled environments, like, okay, let's send it out. Let's test it in the real world. So they went in front of the Soviet embassy, and there's this little park, and they released the cat to go straight to these two Soviet ambassadors that were sitting there talking, sitting on a bench talking, and the cat beelined it for them. They're like, yes, it's beelining it for it. And then the cat was promptly hit by a truck and died. And they decided to scrap the project after that.
Oh my God. That's fucking terrible.
They spent $20 million on this project.
Holy shit. Okay.
So that is Project Acoustic Kitty. The CIA basically just made a cyborg cat and then had it get hit by a truck. A car, truck, cab. What did I write down?
Christ.
Cab.
Wow. Okay, that's not how I was expecting that one to end. That is, yeah. Wow. Cool. Okay. Okay.
Yep.
So the next one I'm going to be talking about is Project Artichoke, which I think before it was called Project Bluebird, which was basically
not to be confused with Project Blue Book.
Yeah, they have too many projects with the word blue in it. It's very confusing.
No, let's have
maybe that's why they changed this one to Project Artichoke, because someone was like, "Hey, no, that's too close."
They kept mixing up the files. They had the wrong files to people, and they're like, "What? There's aliens!" Oh wait, these aren't my files.
It's so funny. And the other ones are like reading, and they're like, "Wait, aliens are doing what to people now?" Oh wait, no, this is just a government project. All right, so Project Artichoke was a project developed by the United States Central Intelligence Agency, or the CIA, with the purpose of researching different methods of interrogation. It was basically what came before.
They put them in an alien probe. Wrong
it's
project.
Basically what came before MK Ultra. So this was like what preceded MK Ultra. So initially known as Project Bluebird. Oh God, Project MK Ultra was fucking insane. But Project Artichoke came around in 1951 with the primary goal to determine whether a person could be involuntarily made to perform an act of attempted assassination. But they also just kind of wanted to see if it worked well for interrogations. And so essentially what they did was they tried various different forms of like mind control. They tried hypnosis. They forced addiction and withdrawal on like morphine and other chemicals. And let me look at these were released in 2002 from the CIA. They have a full list of just like the different shit that they were doing to people. So they tried out hypnosis, and let's see, where are like the drugs?
And then they scrapped that and gave that to Project Blue Book.
So
it's a circle.
They had automatic self-injecting devices.
Yeah, I don't think I want to know, but also I'm afraid to. Is that just a robot that's addicted to heroin, or what?
So it's similar to like that of which is used by military services for self-injection of atropine to counteract nerve gas. but the design was different from the Army's model, only into like the trigger mechanism, which appeared to be cruder and less reliable, a way to automatically inject people with stuff really quick. So they were giving people tranquilizers like Thorazine. They were giving people stimulants like methadone. They were giving people anti-nausea medication like Marazine. They were giving
Take a drink
people,
every time you say zine.
yeah, really, Meanerzine, Reen. They were giving people the stuff that's like in fucking Benadryl. They were giving people cholinergic drugs that are used to treat Parkinson's. They were giving people muscle relaxers. Basically, they were just giving people whatever fucking drugs they could
They
find. It
really
seems
said,
like,
how many drugs can we give these people and what happens if we do it? And then they're putting it
yeah,
under the guise of interrogation.
yeah, pretty much.
They
They
just had to wait a few
used,
years and interview housewives on all of the drugs.
yeah, like LSD, cocaine, marijuana, heroin, peyote, mescaline. And then that's when they were like, hey, LSD seems to be the most promising, which is basically why MK Ultra focused so much on things like LSD. They even researched the potential of dengue fever and other diseases as an interrogation tactic. So just
Did they
like
do syphilis?
fucking yeah. I mean, I wouldn't put it past them, but it just seemed like they were
That's
trying
secretly what the other project was about.
literally anything and everything, get them to see if they could assassinate somebody at like not of their free will.
Well,
All the crazy shit.
if we learned one thing from the witch trials, it's that all it takes is social and religious pressure and you'll confess to anything, apparently.
Oh god, enough needle pricks and you're like, "Yep, I'm the fucking witch.
Torture.
You've poked me a
Yeah.
million times now. I am
Yep,
done."
I can turn into a cat. Yep, that was me.
All right, we're at 40 minutes. You want to do speed run one more, or should we end
Yes.
it here?
I can speed run one more. I can speed run two more
Speed
if you want
run.
me to. Okay, so have you ever heard of Project Habaku?
No.
AKA the ice ship? Not that ice. But ice is in like sea ice.
Oh my god, that's when they tried to build the fucking ship out of ice, right?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
I've heard of
So
this one
this
too.
I heard about this originally on an episode of Mythbusters years and years ago.
Right,
So
yeah.
basically, the concept behind this was that regular aircraft carriers were too easily spotted by U-boats and stuff. So the
Right.
British, the Canadians, and the Americans decided to all work together to create a ship made out of ice. And the reason they decided on ice was because after the Titanic sunk, they were like, well, icebergs are indestructible. Clearly, they sunk the unsinkable ship. We can do anything with icebergs. So they tried building a ship out of ice. They're like, okay, ice itself isn't as sturdy as we thought it was once you put the weight on it. So they created a substance that's known as pycrete, which for the most part is just ice and wood chips. You soak the wood chips, and then you freeze it, and you make sort of this material called pycrete. They tried doing this, and in order to make it the size they wanted, it would have to be twice the size of the Titanic, which was ridiculous. And they would have had to,
How fucking big.
with all of the machinery in it, they would have had to cool it as well. And it was just so impractical, so hard to
Yeah.
move and
And
everything.
keeping it ice was so
Keeping it,
difficult.
keeping it iced, keeping it from melting. And then outside of that, just moving it. It's twice the size of the ship that was like the biggest ship like of the time.
Yeah.
So they were like, let's scrap this.
Speaking of ice, what was that one called again? Sorry, I know
Project
you were just about to
Habaku?
say it.
I
Project
might be
Habaku.
pronouncing that wrong. Yeah, I might be pronouncing that wrong, but yeah,
Habuku?
so
I
that
don't
is
know.
Habuku, that
But
is the speed run version of this.
speaking
It
of
also
ice, I'll
weirdly
speed
has a national
run.
park tie-in,
Oh, okay,
like
hold on.
my other one.
Yeah. What's the national park tie-in on that one?
They tested it out when they were doing all the tests and stuff. They were testing it out and building it in the Canadian National Park, Jasper National Park. So I just think it's
Interesting.
interesting that both of them, I didn't find out about them because of national park stuff. I just heard about them separately, decided to research them, and was like, oh, look, both of these happened in a national park. So you never know
Yeah.
what the government's doing in national parks. Well, actually, now we do because they're getting rid of them. But, you know.
Oh God, yeah. Well, speaking of ice, my one last one that I'll speed run really quick is Project Iceworm, which was basically a United States Army program in the Cold War where they decided they were going to build this giant network of mobile nuclear missile launch sites under the Greenland ice sheet. And the goal was
Oh,
to install all of these like nuclear missile launch sites
so
that could survive a first
Cuba?
strike. A what?
Reverse Cuba situation?
I guess.
In Cuba, they're like, the Russians put like nukes there so it was close to the US, but it wasn't in Russia. And then America was like, we'll
Yeah,
put them in Greenland so they're close to, or Iceland. Was it Greenland?
Greenland under the Greenland ice sheet. And so essentially they
So
were
they're
like, we're going to
close to
build these
Russia.
massive tunnels where we're going to put all these nukes and they're going to be able to survive a first strike. And then we are going to target strikes within the Soviet Union. But they never got the necessary consent from the Danish government to do so. And
Did they
like,
start this project at all or no?
yeah, I think there's fucking tunnels down there now.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
The Danish government just discovered them and was like, what the fuck are you doing here?
In 1995, during an inquiry by the Danish Foreign Policy Institute into the history and use of storage of nuclear weapons in Greenland, they just fucking found all this previously classified information. And they were like, hey, US government, what the motherfuck?
My goodness. Okay. The government is wild. I
Yeah.
have one more, but we don't really have time for it, but that's okay because I could make it into a whole episode of its own if I so chose. Um, but the honorary mention is that during the Civil War, the US was going to use camels in the deserts instead of horses. And then they're like, fuck this shit, released all of them, and then it spawned an epic ghost story.
God,
So that's my honorary.
that reminds me there's this, I'm sorry, I know we're going over time, but there is this one
You're the one
war.
editing this, not me.
I know. There was this one war where they decided to they noticed that I don't know where it was or who the war was against. But it was I want to say it was somewhere in the Middle East where they noticed that for fun a lot of the tanks were like running over like either it was like horse poop or camel poop or something for fun. And so the enemy started putting bombs in the poop so that when like the tanks would run over it would blow up their tanks.
That's wild. I know in some of the wars in the Middle East, they have like there's been animals that have just died and then people go and investigate and they'll put bombs in them. I don't know all of
Yep.
the exacts of it, but I've like heard from people who are like, yeah, they'd straight up just like you go to investigate a dead goat or something and then you're like, "Oh shit, there's wires coming out of it. Run." But I've heard that from like a number of different people. So,
Yeah. Crazy shit.
but the camel poop bombs is wild. That's a shitty way to go out. Sorry, I had to. I had
That's
to.
so funny. All right.
Alrighty,
Do
shall
you
we
want me
wrap
to
this
do
one
the
up?
outro?
Sure.
All right. Thank you for listening. If you liked it, please rate the podcast and share it with the weird people in your life. Follow us on Instagram at whataboutweird.pod, where we often share pictures related to the episodes. We are also on Blue Sky at whataboutweirdpod. If you have any topic suggestions or personal weird stories, please DM us or email us at whataboutweird @gmail.com
And always remember,
to ask about the weird. Bye for now.
bye for now.
Oh no.
Oh no, it's going to be out of sync.
It was not synced at all.